Alright, and hey, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakudash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashim means the name, Rakah means spirit, and Qudash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also, give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And as you can hear right there, that's the Professor Jiang. Has recently gone viral for his takes on the whole world politics and what's going on. And one thing I want to bring out is, this guy has his theories and what he thinks is going to happen, and he has his way of, putting it together. But that's all it is a theory, okay? And the advantage that those that know the prophecies is that it's not theory, okay? It's fact. And this is why it says in Matthew that if it shall be possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But it's not possible. So Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, for there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. And that's the point, is that it's not possible to deceive the elect. Okay, the elect, and the reason why is because the elect know what's going to happen. Right? Once, this whole thing with yesterday and Trump talking about wiping the whole civilization of Iran, I was, hoping he was going to do it, but, brothers were coming out talking about how, hey, if you filter it through prophecy, we understand that that can't happen yet. Because that would be such a high level escalation, especially with how they had, people lining up at those centers, those electric centers. It would have been such a high escalation that it could have easily gone nuclear after that. But we know that it's not time for that yet. We know that the chip has to be here first. So that's like an example of, filtering what's happening through the prophecies and the timeline of events. Like, this guy has his old theories, but he doesn't know the end game plan. And we do. That's the key thing, is we, Lord willing, I'm a part of that number. The elect are not going to get deceived because we know the end game plan, which is the digital system, which is the chip, okay, and which is full control over the masses. Okay, he talks about the NWO is dead. It's not dead. Okay, it's just being worked on. And somehow, some way, this is all going to turn into that. So, a lot of people are getting caught up, getting emotional about, the wars and rumors of wars, when, the right mindset should be to just wait, okay, and see how Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, the master chess player, puts the pieces on the board. So let's read Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 9. It says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Right? And the Lord has told us detailed how all these prophecies are going to take place. Okay, he told us about how Revelation 13 and verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the number of his name or the name of the beast. Read that backwards. But, the Lord told us about how there's going to be a mark. Which, when you go into the Greek word there for mark, it goes into the Greek word charagma, which means a stamp, an imprinted mark, a thing carved, sculpture, graven work, a scratch or etching, right? And that goes into how they're putting it under your skin. Okay, a scratch, etching. Then you go into the root word of that. It goes into a pale, a stake, a palisade, which that's going into the delivery system, right? That is syringe that they use to put it inside of you. And then you go into the root word of that, and it goes into to write, right? Because they're going to be able to write information on that chip. So, we have the breakdown, the understanding as to how this is going to take place. And before these things spring forth, the Lord has told us. That's why the brother titled it, The King's Heart is in the Hand of Yahweh. No one can resist his will, and Moab don't have a clue. Right? This guy, thinks he's wise. This would be your so-called wise men of this world. But the scriptures say that the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. It's not true wisdom. Right? Because the definition of wisdom is to foresee. Okay? It is the ability to make sound judgments and decisions by applying accumulated knowledge, experience, and insight. It involves understanding what is proper, reasonable, and beneficial in life. Right? So, if you're basing your so called wisdom based on false information, it's not really wisdom because it's not going to lead to the proper, outcome, to a good outcome. But it says wisdom represents high level insight rather than just knowing facts, right? And what is insight? Insight is the clear, often sudden understanding of a complex situation, right? This is a complex situation, the way it's unfolding. But to the elect, we got the insight, right? It's clear to us, where this is heading. Okay, it's not foggy, it's not confusing. No, we know exactly where this is heading. And that is our advantage. Okay, let's read what's going to take place. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So that is what the Lord is doing right now. Okay? He is gathering the nations, assembling the kingdoms, taking them over there to the valley of Yehoshaphat. Okay, the so-called Middle East, the so-called, Saudi Arabia region, to World War III, so that in the midst of them fighting, he's going to come back to destroy them. So, hey, this is why prophecy is the biggest filter, right? We understand what's happening. So, quick video, straight to the point. With that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakudash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you elect. Shalom.